Hi, and welcome back to Game of the Years. This, if you don't know, is my new show where I'm going through every year from 1980 onwards and looking at my favourite or most important games to me, like I said, all the way through. So it's a bit harder in the sort of 80s because there's certain things like I've mentioned in my previous podcast which made sort of like the quality of games still good, but it was more the age of the arcades. It was the sort of creation of the own console market and also the handheld market. So it's quite fascinating when you look at it, but let's get straight to it. So I did 1980 to 1985, so I've got 86 till 89. So for 1986, the few I've listed is The Legend of Zelda, which I will mention shortly. Outrun, which is an absolute classic arcade gem, which did spawn many sequels and different versions. And the fact that, like I said, you basically got like a red, basically Ferrari, and you got a blonde lady in the back, and you just basically go past cars and obstacles and sort of try and complete as fast as you can. Simple but fun. Rampage is another one. Something I will honestly say I've not played a great deal, but it was something very different for that arcade experience where you had your shooter games, your fighting games and things like that. Where this was basically these two monsters and you just destroy what you can the quickest, and very influential game. And Castlevania, same thing. I've not really played much of the original, and they quite notoriously hard games, but I still respect what it did for gaming. And Konami turned it into it turned into this huge thing which spawned into other things like the anime, which is superb. So you've got to shout it out, even though I've not played much of the Castlevania games just because they're very hard. But my number one for this year's got to be Legend of Zelda. I remember this game, and like I said, and into modern day, the fact that this original game, made in 1986, still has famous meme of the it's too dangerous to go alone, so take this sword or something like that. So and the action is still very memorable. And like I said, even though you have the limitations of the the console and things like that, it was still it was very amazingly and intricately designed, and definitely using the limitations of the machines they had. It is still it still plays well. Yes, it's very limited on the graphics, but it is still one of those games you could still pick up and play, especially now with this sort of retro revival. I think it's a must for fans of Zelda. And I will mention Breath of the Wild is a Zelda game. I don't care how much Miyamoto's smoking. That basically is an open world fantasy game. it doesn't have anything to do with Zelda and the Zeldas which came before it. So yeah, so all these fanboys say it's the best Zelda game ever. It's like, you've never played a Zelda game then, mate. But anyway, gone on to my little tangent, but I had to mention that because it annoys me, and I've got a friend who 100% agrees with me. I think we're the only two people who will die on this mound. So yeah, so my number one for 1986 is Legend of Zelda. 87, this one's a bit quicker because there's fewer games which I've played a great deal, but they're very important series which, you know, when you look at all these years, 1987 sort of was the beginning of so many amazing franchises. You've got Metal Gear, Final Fantasy, Street Fighter, even though that original game is absolute tosh, but it did spawn, you know, loads of great games. Mega Man, which is another one I've not played a lot because I die. Double Dragon, arcade, absolute classic, and it nearly made me number one on this list. Contra, same thing, great games but very hard, and I didn't really get far on those, but still respect, you know, what a cool classic they are. Shinobi, same thing. Later on, one of my favourite games of the Mega Drive, Revenge of Shinobi, which is absolutely amazing. But my number one has to be Afterburner. I'm a sucker for these cockpit machines. No, cockpit arcade machines, and I still remember I used to get so excited with these sort of games like this and Space Harrier and things like that. And yeah, it was just so great. It really was. And even though there's some irritating sounds and things like that, you could still play this and still enjoy this. And yeah, there is probably other games which I have missed, and I do apologise, but this is my personal list. So Afterburner is that for 1987. We'll get straight to it. 88, I don't know why, but that seemed to be of a flat year for games which sort of was important for me. Major thing I have to mention that it was the year of release of the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis, which is still one of my favourite consoles. And you know, they always say competition, you know, breeds, I forget the word, I know, but anyway, it breeds sort of you know, quality and the urge to sort of to basically make the best games around. And when you had like Nintendo just taking control of, you know, after the video game crash, and sort of, you know, really sort of taking control of the own video game market, then yeah, the Mega Drive, and also, you know, having a mascot to compete with Mario was just genius. And even though there's been loads of trash games afterwards, Sonic, you know, these were the apex of the games, but that was but yeah, so my choice for 1988, because that's the thing, I think, because Sonic, I think, was originally an older game. I can't remember if that's out this year, I'm not sure, but anyway, I've not picked that. The other major release was Altered Beast, same thing, enjoyed it, but didn't really sort of speak to me. And the number one for this year is John Madden Football. I know Madden basically, you know, transformed it after a lot of control of EA, turned it into this weird sort of money-making beast, which just basically gets kids into gambling. But before all that, like I said, this was quite groundbreaking because, John Madden wanted to put, they were looking at getting somebody to put his name to, to a football game franchise, and Madden, was a legend at the time, as a coach, a pundit, and everything else. So they offered him, but he didn't want just like, full V4, 5v5. He's like, no, you need to make a full team on either side. And they literally used to the limitations of, the consoles and the units they were using. But he was adamant that he wanted it to be as close at the time to an authentic game. And like I said, and they were arcadey fun, and especially like the later years and sort of mid-90s, there was different spin-offs and things like that of American football, but Madden was one of the best, and basically solidified the American football video game series, and like I said, even though it's a completely different beast now, still got to respect the original and the many sequels afterwards. So that's my number one for 88. And 89, this one's a bit shorter, if you notice. Try not to go on a bit too much. So I'll finish this last year, and then I'll go through the list, and then I'll order them as well. So 1989, couple of very important game series. Prince of Persia, same thing, another rock hard game, but was very different at the time. Super Monaco GP, another racing game which I also loved. Hard Driving, which I think was very sort of game breaking. Well, not game breaking, very sort of groundbreaking with its sort of the 3D visuals and the sort of and the effects they use. I forgot what specific reason, but yeah, it was still very fascinating game, even though it was very frustrating. And another great series of games, SimCity. That could have easily been my number one, because I used to love SimCity, especially the later ones where you could, you used to like fight flipping fires, floods, and I'm sure like aliens and stuff like that. It was so out there, but it was so fun, and like I said, a lot of people I think got into sort of that, city building games and things like that. And then you had the more like historical stuff like Age of Empires and things like that. And I think this was sort of like the start of that building phase. Also got to mention it was also the year of the Nintendo Game Boy, which is still timeless. And like I said, that little green screen, even though it might look horrible to nowadays, it's like when it came out, it was like you could take it around with you, and it was just like amazing. And the not so amazing Atari Lynx, which sort of I think was the final nail on the coffin of Atari when it comes to consoles. But my number one, has to be, because I think it's a game which people, you know, I think it started the casual game market. When you think now it's multi-billion pound industry with these casual games and things like that. Well, this was the granddaddy of casual games, and that's Minesweeper. And people that say, oh, it's not a video game, and it's like the amount of hours people played on it, you know, it might be a simple video game, but it was very impactful. And like it says, and name a person who was brought up in like early 90s onwards who haven't sunk like hundreds of hours or many hours at least in Minesweeper. And like it says, it was just very simple, and you know, and yeah, and to say I think it was like MS-DOS or something like that, and I think it was like, I forget, but yeah, I think these sort of games were just used to sort of like test the you know, the power of the units and things like that. But yeah, it still has to be on the list. So yep, so that's my list. I will be back shortly, and I will go through them and make my list. So I'll go through the years anyway, and then I will come back once I've reordered them into my favourite game list of the 80s. So 1980 was Pac-Man, 1981 was Donkey Kong, 82 was Pole Position, 83 was Mario Bros, 84 was Tetris, 85 was Super Mario Bros, 86 The Legend of Zelda, 87 Afterburner, 88 John Madden Football, and 89 Minesweeper. And my final top 10 list of the best games year by year of the 1980s is number 10, Pole Position, number 9, John Madden Football, number 8, Mario Bros, number 7, Afterburner, number 6, Minesweeper, and my top 5 is 5, Donkey Kong, number 4, The Legend of Zelda, number 3, Tetris, number 2, Pac-Man, and number 1 has to be Super Mario Bros. Okay, so hope you guys like this. If you have and you're still with me, please, you know, share, and like I said, this is just something I enjoy doing. So if you like sort of retro gaming and you want me to do more, let me know. So like I said, that's my 80s list. I will start pre-recording my 90s because I've got that sorted. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Look after yourself, look after your mental health, and take care. Bye.